Hello ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Chi Show. I'm Chi, bringing you gaming news and stuff. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so you'll have to forgive me. Today we're actually going to talk about the Xbox reveal event that happened yesterday. I was going to put out a video yesterday, but like I said, I'm not feeling too well, so it ended up getting delayed until today, which is actually probably for the best, seeing as all the information that came out after the event. But let me go ahead and jump into it with what happened at the event. First thing, we got the actual name of the device. It will be called the Xbox One, and they actually showed it off, and you got pictures of it and everything, which was a pretty smart move considering Sony didn't show theirs off. Gave them a little marketing edge there. Looking at the device itself from the design, it actually screams entertainment box, and that's pretty much what was talked about the entire event. It's supposed to be an all-in-one cloud-powered device, though the cloud-powered aspect of it hasn't been completely revealed yet. We'll have to see how that one pans out, as the PS4 is also to be cloud-powered. Again, this was part of a two-pronged strategy from Microsoft. Yesterday was supposed to be about the hardware. E3 is supposed to be about games. As far as the actual specs, we know it's got an AMD-based APU with an 8-core CPU. We know it's running 8 gigs of RAM. It's got a 500 gig hard drive. That is a non-user serviceable hard drive, which means you can't take it out and swap in other hard drives. It has a Blu-ray player, wireless in with Wi-Fi Direct, and USB 3.0, which is mainly where you're going to get your additional storage from. It also has an HDMI in and out port, which is going to be used for the TV functionality, which was heavily showcased. What I mean by that is you will be able to watch live TV. You want to change your input anymore to go to your TV input or anything like that, you'll just connect your cable / satellite receiver into your Xbox. You'll be able to tell your Xbox to change to between the two. The whole device is built around instant access with the new Connect, which I'll get into in a second. They showcased this by showing off that you can voice log in, just walk up and be like, Xbox on, it recognizes your voice, it auto logs into your stuff. You can then go Xbox watch TV, switches to your TV, Xbox play game, goes to your game. You can actually even switch to different channels. They showed off the Xbox Guide, which shows your TV listings, and you can tell it to search for specific things or to go to specific channels, which is a neat idea as far as an entertainment device goes. That aspect is pretty interesting. The Xbox One is actually running 3 OSs. It's running the Xbox OS, a Windows kernel, and a central layer communicating between the two to allow the two to function together. They actually showed off new gestures to like shrink windows, expand windows, all that good stuff, because the new Kinect can sense much more. They showed off snap mode for multitasking, where you could have multiple things going at once, where you watch TV or playing a game and you have a Skype call, which they also showed off, and talked about Skype's group voice chat functionality on the Xbox One. They showed off fantasy sport integration with like watching a game, and your fantasy sport stuff automatically updates when your player scores. So they showed all this integration and live TV stuff. One of the key points though that came out after the event is that the live TV functionality will only be available in the US at launch, and also will only work with supported receivers. So if you don't have a supported receiver, you actually won't be able to do any of that. And if you're outside of the US, you'll have to wait for that functionality to come to you. As far as games go, and probably anything else such as movies, you will be able to save where you are and resume like automatically. You can just switch between different things and it not destroy your save or lose your progress in a game. It will save and you'll be able to come back, resume like days later. So that's a pretty cool aspect, and it's also one that Sony is also implementing in the PlayStation 4, the ability to save and come back later. It'll also instantly boot from rest. They showed that where you just walk up and go Xbox on. The Kinect actually stays on, listening for Xbox on. Creepy, but supposedly it doesn't invade your privacy, as it only listens for a very specific thing. You can play games as they install, and downloads and updates are done in the background and like out of the way seamlessly and all that stuff, which is also something the PlayStation 4 is supposed to be able to do. In addition to that, I'm hearing reports that it will support 4K resolution, so there's that to go on top of that. though that wasn't announced during the event. A few more details not announced during the event that came out afterwards You can transfer media from the 360 to the Xbox One. Your live account actually applies to both. Your gamer score will transfer over. It is, however, not backwards compatible, so you cannot play your current Xbox games on it. They did talk about a new dynamic achievement system where achievements can evolve over time and also cross-game achievements, though that wasn't really talked about a whole lot, and a lot of information came out about that after the fact. We can talk about the camera real quick. It is a 1080p camera. It can track up to 6 people. Apparently you can even use biometrics to determine your heart rate. Also a whole bunch more voice recognition stuff, and it detects natural speech much better. Key caveat here is the Xbox One will not function without the Kinect connected to it. Has to be connected. They showed off a new controller, so as to be expected, especially since there's no backwards compatibility, the 360 controllers will not function on the Xbox One. The new controller actually has a ergonomic enhancement, so it feels a little bit better. They said something like 40 design innovations, but the big ones were like impact triggers, which are triggers with rumble motors pretty much, so they have their own independent rumble. Also precision D-pad. They also went with an integrated battery, so no more battery packs and all that good stuff. They talked about Xbox Live and how it's expanded over time and how it will expand with Xbox One and how it will go from its current amount of servers to like 300,000 servers, and how it will be this cloud-based entity and all this good stuff. They also, like I said, talked about achievements and all this. They didn't say this during the event, but afterwards came out that you will actually be able to have 1,000 live friends as opposed to the current 100. So that's a pretty good deal there. They said that there will be 15 exclusives within the first year, 8 of which will be new IPs. They showed off Call of Duty Ghost. There was an EA Sports engine show off a little bit there. Overall, a lot of games weren't really shown. There was a lot of showing off the console and talking about its features, and like 30 minutes of it was talking about the TV functionality. Afterwards, most big third-party games that are coming out have been confirmed for it. Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed 4, Battlefield 4, all the big multi-platform titles are confirmed for it. Now that was the basis of what covered in the event. Afterwards, more details came out, and that's where it got a little bit tricky to tell what was going on. Basically, they sent a lot of mixed messages. Phil Harrison saying one thing, you had some PR people saying something else. It gets a little bit iffy here, but I'll try to tell you what was said and what I could gather which parts were true. The new Xbox will not require a constant internet connection, but will require an internet connection. You actually won't have to have your internet connection constantly connected to play single player games or play a movie, but the console itself will actually need to pull data from cloud and from live and all this good stuff. I think the example given was 24 hours, it will need to pull that information, so it will need to be connected to the internet. This isn't 100% confirmed. This was said by Phil Harris, and I think a fact was even posted stating this, but then was later PR people said it was a possible scenario. Another possible scenario dealt with used games. Your games will be tied to your gamertag/live account, and Microsoft wants you to be able to resell your games and all this good stuff. There's a caveat that was mentioned in that if I go to your house to play a game, I have to sign into my account for us to play that game. If you try to sign in with your account, even though we have the disc, you will actually have to pay full price for that game. There was also mentioned that there might be a used game fee of $6 to $10, though I'm not entirely sure where that one came from. I just heard people mentioning it. Full price thing though did come from Phil Harrison. He said that in an interview with Eurogamer. Also, all games must be installed onto the hard drive, which is problematic in the fact that the hard drive, even though 500 gigs, will not give you the full 500 gigs, as the system software will take a significant portion of that. Not sure what significant portion means at the moment. It could be 5 gigs, could be 10 gig. That for a lot of people might be a little much, but if it's anything like 50 to 100, that is going to be a huge pain. So again, there was some controversy dealing with the messaging there on those two aspects, on the internet connection and on the used games, whether you will have to pay the price for a game, which is interesting because without my live account, I can't really let you borrow a game. You'd actually have to pay for it. This again though is stuff that was said, but later was said wasn't true, and then was said was true, and later was said wasn't true. So it was very confusing. A lot of mixed messages sent. IGN actually has an article up you can check out where they distress that in particular, how there was so many mixed messages after the event and how the PR there is really bad. That was pretty much what was covered during the event and after the event. Overall, there's a lot of information out there, and some of it's hard to tell how accurate it is because of the PR mess that's going on right now. It does appear that the general opinion of a lot of people who are at least vocal on the net and forums and on websites such as IGN or Polygon, they don't seem to be very thrilled with the event, partially because there was no games actually shown. There was very little game footage shown or anything like that. Was their strategy. They completed the part of their strategy pretty well. They showed the hardware, they talked about the features of the hardware. On the minor side of that though, they didn't actually cover a lot of the finer details. They didn't give hardcore tech spec. They didn't go into a lot of details about things like the internet connection, like used games, all that good stuff that people have been concerned about for a while. If they can complete phase 2 of their strategy during E3 and show off games, I think they will gather a lot more of the praise back. But at the moment, I think a lot of people are leaning towards Sony. It seems like the PS4 has a good bit more hype, but they showed more gameplay. It seems to be not significantly better, but a slightly better hardware platform as it has slightly more power. I'll post a link to the actual event video you can check out and a couple of articles you can check out dealing with different things. Overall, my impression of the event was that there were some neat features mentioned, such as the live switching to TV. Microsoft really needs to buckle down on a lot of things because there were key details not revealed, such as the internet connection thing. That's pretty much all I have. I kind of rambled there for a bit. You can actually let me know what you think about the Xbox One and its reveal and Microsoft's strategy in the comments below. I will check you guys back Friday. You can click over here for previous news stories, over here for Chrono and myself playing some games, and hit the like and subscribe button as always. And again, I'll see you Friday.